Okay. I think I think it's working. I hope it is. Right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Just thought I'd finally get round to announcing the winners this morning. Starts taking a little longer than I'd like, but I think we're making good time nonetheless. Just been a very, very busy week with semester about to ramp up. So I just want to make a little video to announce the three top picks, well, slash winners of the summer challenge slash competition. And I might as well get on with it because I'm sure you're eagerly awaiting. First of all, thanks everybody for taking part. It was just a fun little thing I decided to do towards the end of August. Well, one maybe just to get the old creative brain back and go. Obviously, it's useful for me to start kind of thinking about sort of things that we might be doing in the future, and if anything, try and keep this community alive a little bit. I know it's not terribly active, but there's a few of you who are dedicated and do take part, and that's really, really good fun. As I was saying, obviously I'll announce the three winners today, and then I'll probably wait till I see you in person to give you the art book. Obviously, I'm not going to post it to you. You might as well come into university and get it. And then, of course, I'll email out the vouchers for the win as well. So we'll do that in the next day or two. Before I say anything else, I'll just say thank you very much for taking part. It was good fun. Really enjoyed the submissions. I enjoyed writing the brief. That was terribly good fun. And a good way to kill time in an airport, if you ask me. And we'll see what happens in the next challenge. So, without further ado, we'll get on to announcing the winners, and I'll just shrink my window down here. That's too small. Right, we'll go there. It's about right. Enough of my nonsense. I'm supposed to be in work right now, but I'm doing this instead. But if I can dodge any boring meetings, I will. Okay, winners. Right, without further ado, I hope this slideshow works, by the way. If it doesn't, well, then this video is an absolute waste of time. So, anyway, without further ado, we'll announce the first winner, which I believe is Sir Finnegan Pike, and that is... Right, now is the real test. Yay! Well done, Axe. So, the two judges, of course, for this were Andrew and I, Andrew McDonald, you may have worked with before. And what we really liked about your submission, Axe, was one, that you managed to capture a good sense of the brief. You managed to keep things in that sort of cartoony, zany, fun vibe that I think we were aiming for. And more than anything, I think you managed to kind of incorporate elements of that brief into the design that we thought were definitely more fitting, and kind of what we actually had in our heads a little bit. And while there are things we think we definitely could have hit further home runs on, we really liked some of the core shapes of your design, using a kind of really, a sort of, using body types that are unusual, like actually having a big chunky fella there with a big chunky tail. And of course, we like the iridescence of the armor. Some of the color suggestions there are really, really nice. And of course, embedding the coral across the different aspects. Though I do think we'd like to have seen elements of that kind of a little bit more embedded into the design. And also, the weapon itself, we thought was actually gave us a good giggle. This idea of just having this, this poor octofish thing. It's only got three legs, but there's something fun about just having that stuck at the end of a pike. But there's definitely elements to this that that we really, really enjoyed. We thought it was good fun, and again, you managed to keep this this steely gaze, kind of very Fred Flintstone face, steely eyes, of course, there as well. And of course, we like the context and the presentation and the background. There's just lots to like about that. And so this is what makes this challenge difficult is that there's kind of three things you're really aiming for. One is obviously there's a brief to kind of match. There is a loose sense of a style guide, somewhere, which we'll talk about that in a minute. And of course there is kind of your slant on it as well. You've got to have room for your take on it, but we think this is kind of close to the sort of thing we were looking for, and you managed to keep it in that sort of merman territory as well. Some of the tangents of the fins and the tail at the back I think could be improved, but ultimately I think this is a really cool starting point and a really fun illustration, and definitely a really good response to the brief. So well done, Axe. Well deserved as well. Okay, so we'll move on to Queen Aquariana, and our next winner of the Summer Challenge 2024 is Way! It's Seamus, okay? Seamus, well done. This is Queen Aquariana by Seamus Clark, and we absolutely adored this submission because of the crystal clear shape language that you've managed to embed and also match and meet the brief. There's a lot of interesting things going on in this submission. First of all, we'll start with the context. Even though we never really asked for an environment, that suggestion of this palatial balcony looking out over the kingdom we thought was a really nice touch. And you managed to keep it rough enough not to detract from the actual design itself. And when it comes to the design, while the image itself we think is a little too dark, we'd like to see that brought up a little bit. The actual core shapes and ideas that you've managed to play with here, I think, are absolutely superb. The biggest one for us, of course, is just this incorporation of all these very cool, almost jellyfish-like, fabric-like curvy shapes that are embedded into the design. Starting with, of course, see this fantastic fish hat, which is super special and super strange, leading into this, obviously, very humanoid head, but with these kind of like axolotl-type kind of, I don't know, back of head limbs, like spiky things going out the back. I don't want to say spikes because they're probably not sharp. And of course, then I think the big thing for me is those core shapes, this lovely almost hourglass shape happening in the actual figure itself, but the combination of curves. I think this leads to a package of work that does definitely say this is somebody who is important, they are regal, and there's a caution to their face as well that they're unsure. And of course the brief itself, which is kind of poking fun a bit. This is a queen that likes to eat. We can see here that they're definitely not afraid of a chippy or two, and that's nothing wrong with that. So I think for this one, it was just in terms of the key shape language, meeting the brief, managing to find something that we thought we saw in our heads, and then still surprise us further. This absolutely knocked it out of the park for us. It is a beautiful coalescence, sorry, I can't even speak today, of various things that we like to see. And I think, you managed to also keep a clean, readable, strong line art, great use of shapes, and of course there's a sense of personality and purpose in this, and it's a very understated and very cool response to the brief. So well done, Seamus. Very, very pleased with this one. And again, I encourage you to go that little step further and maybe play around with maintaining that sense of identity and maybe trying some of the other designs in that particular world of, what did I even call this place? Abyssia. I can't remember. Hydrassian, that's the one. So yeah, massive well done. All right, so up next, our third and final winner, and let's hope this works again, is Way. I've got my clap noises. I hope they're coming through, by the way. If they're not, then I look like an idiot. But there is a small applause noise that's supposed to happen between transitions. So our winner for Schmeal's a Bubble is Emma Gowdy. Well done, Emma. We adored this design because I think you got the closest to the sort of thing that we had in mind, which was this hideous and imposing amalgamation of different things. And ultimately what you've managed to achieve here is a lovely combination of ideas, presented really, really well, really tasteful rendering, and I think you managed to keep things... excuse me. My apologies. It seems that there's a lot of dust on this mic, and I think I'm breathing it in. Doesn't get used enough, apparently. So again, like we said, this is it's like a Frankenstein's collection of different underwater beast ideas, and we like that. There's a lopsidedness to it, obviously, in some foreshortening happening in the frontier. Those are very, very disturbing eyes. You've got that kind of anglerfish mouth. Leading into these like weird octopus squids at the back, these beautiful kind of like transparent seaweeds along the spine. There's something nice going on with the skin, this idea that there's an iridescence and like a bioluminescence to it. Really, really cool as well. And I love these little things that are shooting up the side. Like, I think you put a lot of thought and effort into this, and this is an idea that we really, really loved. And actually, again, there was just so many great ideas for these submissions. It was really hard to pick, but this one came, I think, closest to the sort of brief that we were thinking of, and actually gave us a bit of a surprise. And we were like, that's actually reformed the idea a little bit for us, and we really, really enjoyed that. So really, really top job there, Emma. Very, very pleased to see. So overall, super happy with all of them. Though I think those were 3 great entries, and again, I think between those 3, we're starting to build. Isn't that great? Like, just a random idea about an underwater kingdom, and then all of a sudden we're starting to make that real with the various monsters and people that inhabit it, and I think that's the fun part to it. This is definitely, it's been a fun competition. In any case, though, let's get on to the rest of it. Obviously, just to kind of give a bit of feedback to the other entries. I'll keep things brief simply because I'm running out of time here. So all three winners, massive congratulations. Please join me in congratulating them. And I'll see you all in class at any point in the next sort of term anyway. But just to kind of go over things again, this was obviously I was introducing the world of Hydrassia, which was essentially a brain fart in an airport that turned into something I thought was really good fun. Hydrassia, Jewel of the Cobalt Depths, a mighty underwater kingdom nestled within the heart of the vast ocean world of Blub. Beneath shimmering waves, where sunlight dances through the cerulean waters, lies a realm of breathtaking beauty and whimsical wonder and bizarre aquatic life. This is a kingdom where coral castles rise like crystalline spires and bioluminescent gardens illuminate the deep with a soft, ethereal glow. Hydrassia thrives on a blend of ancient tradition and curious eccentricities. The kingdom's denizens, a mix of merfolk, aquatic creatures, and sentient sea plants, live in harmony, their lives woven into the vibrant tapestry of the ocean's ever-shifting currents. But here, life is anything but ordinary. Schools of fish form impromptu dance troupes. Seahorses deliver messages with surprising speed, and the royal court often convenes in the Great Kelp Hall, where decisions are made as much by laughter and song as by serious debate. I love this idea of it being something ironic and fun, almost a little absurd. If you kind of see where I'm coming from, it starts somewhere with SpongeBob and Adventure Time and ends somewhere closer to, I don't know. I actually don't know. I had a really good. I was talking to Andrew about this yesterday, and I think the more I talked about this, I think the realization came to me is what I really wanted was an underwater version of Zootopia. But I didn't know that at the time. But I think we got there eventually. So, but that's the process. That's what it's all about. Good conversation leads to good results. Yet beneath its charming surface, Hydrassia is a kingdom of great power. Its warriors, the Royal Coral Guard, fiercely loyal and ever vigilant, ready to defend their home from the perils that lurk in the abyss. And of course, we had a loose style guide here. And of course, this is like initial thought sort of stuff. But I've got my ruler out, which means I want to point at things. This one for me was, initially it was, SpongeBob and Adventure Time. And where it moved towards was like actually kind of like some of the 3D material rendering of things like Finding Nemo. And of course, allowing some of the humanoid and more serious themes may be present in The Little Mermaid. So that's why we have this kind of like heat map of things that we're close towards, which I think is a very good idea, by the way. It's a good way, I think, of communicating where your brain is. It's a good idea. Try it sometime. And actually, through that process, you might actually find clarity in what you really were looking for. And I think, again, if I was to do this map again, I'd probably put Adventure Time and I'd probably put Zootopia in there somewhere just as another branch of the visual research. In any case, so it just helps me make my mind up about certain things, thematically, idealistically, and just getting a vibe for things. That word vibe is way too prevalent these days. So of course, you were allowed to expand beyond that and of course explore other things, but I think it's a good place to start from, knowing where I'm coming from, and therefore as designers yourselves, you're able to work with that. I hope it was useful. Always interested in how people communicate ideas. Obviously when it comes to visuals, we would use mood boards a lot. The mood boards, there's a double-edged sword there. A lot of them are messy and actually unusable, and actually having a very clean, clear idea that you're able to distill to other people is sometimes hard to do for people. So maybe try this out, or make your own suggestions. How do you do things? So Sir Finnegan Pike was the first knight of the Royal Coral Guard, a figure shrouded in both mystery and reverence. His steely eyes seem to reflect the very depths of the ocean, his mere presence commanding both loyalty and awe. His royal armour is a stunning blend of ancient metals and iridescent coral. It's well maintained, yet whispers of past battles and glory. There's fluidity in his movement, as if the sea itself courses through his veins, giving him an unrivaled grace. Now, how do you communicate unrivaled grace in a still image? That one's slightly trickier. He wields Winkle Skipper, a legendary weapon as famous as he, inspiring all who ever lived to see it used in action. Though few have ever heard him speak, his voice is said to carry the weight of the tides, imbued with wisdom and the unyielding resolve of one who has faced the abyss and returned. Tall tales about Sir Finnegan are told indeed, but with a growing depth problem, Speech Johnny Depp, what? A growing debt problem and his age beginning to show. Perhaps this old fish should begin winding down, or is he fit for one last fight? I think there was room for a pun there, but I resisted really hard, and I I'm not gonna put you through that. Queen Aquariana, ruler of Hydrassia, Queen Aquariana of House Troughton Reef. I really had a good time coming up with this. Queen Aquariana of House Troughton Reef is a regal and much adored presence in the kingdom of Hydrassia. Her gaze holds the wisdom of ages, and her voice flows with the soothing cadence of ocean currents. Dressed in robes woven from the finest sea silks and adorned with precious gems and shimmering scales, she embodies both grace and power. There is an air of mystery that clings to our young queen, though she is often thought as distant, aloof, often confused. Some claim she communes with ancient sea spirits, and others say she can summon the currents with a mere snap. There is an undeniable strength beneath her serene exterior, however. She famously enjoys feasting and drinking, who doesn't, throwing lavish balls at the slightest rumble of her tummy. Good on her. It is rumoured that her dressmakers have to remake her outfits with each new tide. Oh dear. So, who truly knows? These are all vicious rumours, really. What we can gather, of course, I did it again, I breathed in dust. That's awful. What we can gather is she keeps her cards close to her caviar. I forgot about that. She keeps her cards close and her caviar closer. In any case, she is loved and respected, and all who view her as the undisputed heart of Hydrassia, a guiding star in this watery heavens. And again, I love to say that she is well loved. And I say, good on our chubby princess. I love her so. And of course, Schmeelzebubble, this one had a little bit more context to it. So, far to the east and many miles past the safety of the outer barrier reefs is the cobalt depths. The light eventually runs out and there's little to no life to be seen. Known simply as the Black Abyss, this is an unending trench, its full size and depth yet unknown. Those who have tried to explore it rarely return, and those that do tell only of its oddities, its emptiness, and its horrors. So recently a scientific expedition was sent there by royal decree on a grand fact-finding mission to finally establish some truth about the place. This was led by famous explorer Derek Fontanglesplash. Really enjoy that name. Weeks would pass with no word from the expedition, but one evening, long past anyone had any hope of success, Fontanglesplash made it back alive. His ship, however, the Anemone, had been torn to shreds, and its crew, bar one, of course, were now missing. Had clearly fallen foul of something terrible. Need to rewrite that. It's not worded very well, is it? It took many weeks, but he finally did wake, and Von Tanglesplash would scream, "Smells it, bubble!" and somewhat, terror, repeatedly in great distress, not stopping until the sedative was administered. Word of this, upon reaching the Royal Coral Guard, put the realm into full lockdown, for they knew of an ancient prophecy that forewarned of the coming Schmeelzebubble, a colossus capable of exacting great destruction upon anything that dared to wake it from its slumbering depths. The text describes this as a nightmarish fusion of marine horrors with a body that defies natural order. And those who know of this prophecy speak of Schmeelzebubble with a mixture of fear and fate, for it is not just a creature, but a force of nature that will leave nothing but the echo of its sinister presence in the cold, dark waters of the old abyssal trench. So again, that's some really convoluted writing there, but that's how I work. Need to tease that out a little bit and tidy it up, but I'll save that brief for get another use out of this in a couple of years, I'd imagine. In any case, though, so we'll go through the entry. So we've been through our first winner, who was Axe. We've been through this entry already. And of course, we had a second entry, which was from Ash Hobo, which we really enjoyed as well. I think this was what made this really difficult. I think, Ash, you got closer to that kind of cartoony vibe that I was really looking for as well, which was that sort of, as I was saying, / Adventure Time, almost like... it's closer to SpongeBob / Adventure Time. And I think if there was just a couple more efforts there, I think it would have been a really, really tight competition. But we really enjoy the top half of this entry in particular. So one, there's two things that pull my eye in. One is the face, the lips, the lovely little sort of... the antennae on the gill, the helmet, and I love this idea of the fin coming out the back of the helmet. I thought that was fantastic. I think there's things we didn't understand, such as the sort of sports jockey kind of arms and a pair of jeans, but we thought this was such a fun, strong entry. Like, I think illustratively this is actually ticking boxes for me, so it was really, really good fun to see this one. I love the little kind of rock creature that you put under his foot. I thought there was a wonderful sense of humor in that, and I think I think you've done a really fun job here. I'm not sure if I'm using the right version of your image, but I just popped this in there. But we definitely judged the right one earlier. But this might be the one of the older versions. In any case, though, we thought the weapon itself being like just this kind of crab claw was fun, but I wanted something a bit more legendary. But ultimately, I think you've got a really fun entry, a lovely sense of style here, and there's something about humanoid bodies with fish heads I find infinitely hilarious. So I thought you were off to a good humorous start there, and with a little bit more work here and there, I think you can nudge us into an absolutely fantastic illustration. So really, really good work there, Ash, and thanks for joining in. So Queen Aquariana, we had a few more Queen entries than we had Finnegan entries, so we wanted to shout out to Zoe for this entry. We really enjoyed this one, and I thought this would be a close runner-up for sure, though I do think there's probably, one of the most confident senses of style, I think, in the submissions. Your shape control, your line art, and your use of color is very, very confident, and certainly growing in confidence, but we don't think it quite captured the princess we had in mind. I think maybe the porpoise-inspired face was good, but I think she looks a little too mean, maybe a little bit pissed off, and I think the inclusion of the dead fish on a fork was a lovely touch, but verging on maybe too violent, though that is actually my tastes, and I think Andrew's not so much, but we think actually what would be nice is if there was a big bite out of that fish, and if it was actually a small fork, like a dinner fork, holding it up like she had actually just eaten it. But we really enjoyed this entry, and I love the use of shape shadows, or shadow shapes I should say correctly. I think this gave prom queen vibes rather than sea queen, that's fine. I think what's the difference? Ultimately, these aren't real people, but we love the use of the anthropomorphic arms, like actually using the fin shapes as confidently as actual hands and arms. We thought was really nice. Lovely ideas on the clothes, and that little motif of the sort of scales as just shimmer in the dress. Really, really fun stuff. I think seeing this go forward, I'd probably be tempted to get rid of the legs and actually turn that more into like a curved fin or a fish shape of some kind, like a more of a mertail shape. But there was a really close draw on this one, but we really enjoyed this entry. And again, that lovely, I think again, torso up. There's just some really, really clever ideas going on there. Great shape control, and you almost got it. So good job, well done, Lauren. Next up was we really enjoyed this one as well, though I think verging towards like quite scary, and I really enjoy that. I know like there's this lovely vibe of realism that comes through in your work. First of all, we really enjoyed the ethereal floaty pose. First of all, it's the first thing that impacts me. This idea that this is somebody that does live and exist in the waters, though I think your illustration here verges a little away from the cartoony vibe, definitely more in that sort of Little Mermaid, maybe even slightly more realistic vibe going on there, but there's just such a great collection of ideas going on here that we really enjoyed. The seaweed motif, first of all, in the clothes and in the tail and in the background, is a lovely way of tying all this together. It's a wonderful framing device as well, but we do think maybe the hierarchy of the presentation is maybe a little off with those seaweed tails in the background, maybe eclipsing the main design element just a little too much. Lovely shape design. Andrew in particularly really loved what you've done with the tail shape, verging away from explicitly fish shaped and going for something more seaweed and earthy, almost like ginger root. And we particularly enjoyed the pose and the floatiness of the arms and hands. We thought they looked great the way they were posed. I like the fabric of your work. Like there's a floatiness to that's really important. It does look like it's submerged in water, that we have like almost like a camera has just caught this creature and it's startled it. I thought that was really clever. But I think the one thing I'm missing here is probably and I'm not sure if it was clear enough in the brief, so it might be my fault, Lauren, but it was like I wanted a bit more humor and cartooniness in there, and I think that's probably the only beat you're missing here. Like this is something I think actually belongs in a strong cinematic IP or an animated IP, but I love what you've done. Some lovely suggestions of fabricity and texture and stuff going on there. Just a lovely effort, and again, very different to any work that I've seen from you before. Which I think is just valuable in its own right. The gorgeous idea of the sea with light coming through in the background and these lovely suggestions of seaweed. If you're having fun with that, please keep going because that is great. I think the necklace idea is really fun, but I think it confused me. Like it's too similar to the flesh colors. Like I thought those were actually like some weird like pustules or tumors coming out from the chest, and then I realized it was like a necklace made of like pebbles and stones. But yeah, just a lovely collection of ideas, but not the image I think we had in our minds of something cartoonier or towards cartoonier and more humory. But again, what a great effort there and a lovely submission. Next up, of course, we had Seamus's submission, which we covered earlier anyway, so no need to cover that. And then on to Emma's, which we thought was another strong submission with, again, a great collection of ideas that we thought were unique and original. First of all, trying to capture the floatiness of the Queen's hair in suspended water. Very, very difficult, though we thought maybe verging on a little bit too stringy and repetitive. And I think what really probably held that back was the symmetry. There's too many repetitive elements, which means the symmetry really stands out. So I thought that probably needed to be broken up a little bit and add some sort of variation and different sides of this. We really loved the etherealness of this submission in general. Again, close toward I think moving towards that cartoonier, more animated style. Lovely collection of shapes, but I think some of the shapes might actually be hidden by the amount of sort of texture and netting. Though those are strong ideas, I would look for alternative ways to do them. So again, a lovely collection of ideas. How these ideas have been welded together I think could be stronger, but I love that red coral crown. I think that's really fabulous. I love the transparency on these fins at the side of the head. I'm pointing like I have them. Lovely, lovely ideas there. And again, those big globes for eyes is really good fun. And again, just lovely body shape. In particular, I want to highlight is that fin shape at the back. We can see this transition from opaque into transparent. That's genius, by the way. That's absolutely genius. But I do think a slightly better pose in the arms, maybe holding something like something to eat, that sort of thing. And I would say just trying your best to avoid the repetitiveness. That symmetry tools are great, and we're going to use a lot of them if you're in my second year group. They're great for getting started, but I think when it comes to finalizing a design, you want to push the symmetry away and offer a little bit more variation in there, just to kind of push past that. You don't want something to look like the tools that were used to make it. But it's just a lovely collection of ideas there. Really enjoying the face. I think this is definitely a more spiritual princess. One of the ideas in there was that she does commune with spirits, or sea spirits. Sorry. So I love that idea that she floats into her underwater worship area, and she's all like, "Where are my sea spirits?" And that's my voice for this this character. So again, really good effort there, Emma. Thanks so much for taking part, and just keep going. Love to see more ideas from you. Next up, we got the Schmeelzebubble entries, and of course, we had two really solid entries here. I know, Samuel, you didn't get one finished, but I put you in the honourable mentions at the end. So again, another big round of applause to Emma for that one. Lovely stuff. And of course, I want to say congratulations to Elise as well. I love obviously, Elise, you included some of the concept sketches leading up to this. But there's something here that really ticked boxes for me, and I really loved it. One, it being undead. That wasn't part of my plan, right? And I love it. If this was production, I'd be swinging this way and going, right, it's an undead whale that has something inside it that's infected it, that's growing inside it. And I think in terms of concept and ideas, you've got something so strong there. I hadn't thought of it. Andrew hadn't thought of it, and we really loved that. I think it's just the presentation and final rendering wise, it just didn't capture the winning formula the way Emma's did. But I think you made such a great effort, and again, just such a strong idea. And again, that's what concept is. It's ideas, right? So there's a few things I need to point out. Let's start with the biggest one first of all. The environment that you presented here, I think, is probably closer to what I had in mind in terms of the abyssal depths. There's a gorgeous darkness without it being pitch black. There's a floaty, lovely, almost like grey blue in the background there, like Payne's grey paint. It's gorgeous. There's a suggestion of floatiness and mist and light. Definitely beautiful horror depths territory. And then, of course, you've got this hulking, undead whale carcass that has been overtaken by this force, almost this oh, what would we call it? A Cthulian. I forgot the name. This always happens to me, but I'm going to say Cthulian for lack of a better phrase. But there is a gorgeous horror element to this. One, this idea that the mouth opens up and we see this spread of eyes and teeth. That is grim. Though we'd just love to see a bit more consistency there. Like, for instance, the whale's teeth itself look very, very well kept. But I love this idea, like this big, especially we've seen this motif in humans before, especially human vampires. And if you've seen The Strain, if you've seen Blade 2 or 3, this idea that the jaw opens up, or it's one of the, I guess even the Resident Evil games, but I've not seen it on creatures like a whale before. The idea that a whale head opens up, that is gross. I love it. It's almost verging on too scary. But the idea of the eyes as an infection spreading throughout this, terrific. I love that. Like, I really love that. At least just such a great effort. Good job on that one. But again, I just think, with a few corrections and tidy ups in the form, shape, and line work there, you've got something special. So keep working on this. It's a really nice piece, and I can just see it having huge impact. And it definitely is the stuff of nightmares, which is really fun. Honourable mentions for the incomplete and the late, of course. One shout out to Samuel Simpson. Samuel got so close, some beautiful ideas being sketched and jotted out here. Really enjoying the centipede motif in some of this work, or the underwater centipede type thing. There's just something gorgeous about those segments and those line works. These little pieces down here, I absolutely adore. Just some really fun work going on with that. Love to have seen that finished off, and I can see this little sort of suggestion getting close, but good job for taking part. And I know you were moving house at the time, and I hope everything went well, but just a lovely sort of spread of ideas there. I really wish you lot would work together. Imagine the stuff you would pull together in one session over one simple IP. That's what I love about it. And of course, Uneasy Lamp, I didn't get your real name, so I don't know who you are. I just want to say what a fantastic illustration you submitted. Obviously, just come in too late, but I love that you've taken part. I love the shape, identity, and language, color. There's just so much going on here. I love the expression, the pose, phenomenal, great stuff. And again, if my plump underwater princess is the queen, I see this as her like adversary. This is somebody else who is maybe a more villainous queen, just has that lovely sharp language to it. Everything that says I'm bad is there, even though it's kind of cute in its own way. It still has that lovely maniacal flavor to it, and I love that. It could be that she is good as well. She's just like Princess Bubblegum. She's evil good, which is a new thing to me, which is really fun. Anyway, I think I have run out of things to say, except, oh, sorry, Holly, I forgot there was an entry at the end there. Holly, come in. Holly, well done on this one. This one surprised me because it came out of the depths. Like, it really does look like you've gone for this very realistic toned portrait, and it's got this really cool, gorgeous natural tones going on there, and it is terrifying, by the way. I think that's probably what's put me off it. You've got something that is so realistic that you've gone for that cinematic realistic look, and there's some wonderful ideas happening in there, gorgeous ideas. The armor, the fabric, the actual use of the body, but I do think you've got something that is verging on it's definitely off brief, right? So what? But there's some great ideas happening there, and I think, again, if I was looking for another villain or another creature in this world, I'm going to knock your door and ask you to finish this off. Just a really fun piece of work, and again, just some really natural tones, and some of the rendering and anatomy happening there is really, really quite fun. Definitely worth finishing off if you can, Holly. Good stuff there. Anyway, I've run out of ability to speak, so I'm going to head off. I've got to go back to work and there's some boring meetings you can't avoid. So ultimately, that's it, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you for taking part. A massive well done to our winners. Obviously, I'll be in touch either in Discord or via email to make sure you get your book and your voucher. And look forward to the next competition. I'll maybe do a winter competition of some kind. That's risky, though, because you've got too much coursework to do. Way too much coursework. Too much coursework. You know what that's like. It's too much. And that's the whole point. You're meant to have lots of coursework. It's good for you, even if it doesn't feel that way. So, in any case, I love yous and leave yous. Thank you, everybody. Cherry bye for now, and I'll see you in the new term starting in, well, not Monday, but the Monday afterwards. I've got the fear. I hope you've got the fear. I'm going back to live demoing again, which I'm not looking forward to. It scares the life out of me. I'm a bit rusty at the minute, but I'm going to spend the next week practicing again, and we'll get back into it. Anyway, see you later. Cheerio. Good luck. Bye-bye.